You guys are talking about routers that don't exist. I want to say
Or
hi
wine
to.
bottles.
I'm saying hi to. Oh yeah, wine bottles. I know. Um, Hello, there's
Wait,
Shannon. She's excited to watch this. Who else do we have? Life, the messy bits. That was just beyond. Thank you. What was your favorite part of it? I know our favorite part was the wine, right, everybody? And I
I
got
actually,
yeah.
I don't know how much the goats really made an appearance, but I feel like the goats for me were one of the big stars of the show. The cutest little baby goats you've ever imagined.
They were pretty cute. That is true. Hi, everybody. Good. We've got people figuring this out. Now, what was supposed to happen was that you were going to get automatically redirected. Me and my 13-year-old son had it all set up, and then the boomer here decided to test it, and I screwed everything up. So the next time we do this, it should work much better. But you guys are smart. You're figuring it out. We've got some people here with us now. Let's
You know
see.
what's so funny is that I actually was not
I'm a
You
little
weren't
lost.
you didn't think you were gonna actually make it onto your computer in time? That was our worry too.
That's
there was a
always.
number of worries that I had, but also just figuring out how to actually see the chats, was the real problem that I had.
Well, you
Hmm.
can open up YouTube Studio and see the chat there. There's also, it's a little bit right on my head. Um, Actually, you can't see that part, can you? That's all right. So you have to open up YouTube Studio. But let me tell you what everyone is saying. First of all, Lindsay, hello. She says hello. Uh, Boy, this is where I need bigger. I need my glasses. Darn it, I'm gonna look all old. Um, Christian says that was epic. I love
Yeah,
it.
Christian.
I'm on John's forehead. I know. How do I put myself in that corner so I have everyone there? Maybe if I just do if I yeah, there we go. Now I'll be in the there, that works. Um let's see. Okay, John, I'll have an improv cigarette in my glove box at all times. Never know when you need to use it. Yes, JT. The improv cigarette was fun. I was just trying to be I don't know, I was just trying to be Anthony Bourdain in that one. Um, are you guys, the rest of you, do you have the YouTube pulled up? Oh, look at JoJo. Oh, and then look at just joined. The rest of you do have the
What's up?
YouTube pulled up. Oh, look at JoJo. Uh-oh. Ryan, you got to mute yourself, buddy. The director shows up and starts ruining the feedback. Okay, so I'm the only one talking so far. Is that because I'm the only one that can see the questions?
I'm
Yeah, I
working
was
that.
confused because it seems like it might be like there's a lag or something.
Well,
There's a
yes,
delay,
Yes.
maybe.
yes, of course there is.
Okay. All right, then I'll relax and just become comfortable with the lag.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start like this because I want to tell a couple of stories from the shoot, and while we're doing that, then I can look at some of the questions. I want Annabella for you to let us all off the hook and let them know that we actually did ask you if we could drink that bottle of wine before anybody knew, whether you knew or we knew that how just expensive and nice it was. And then there's a backstory to that I want you to tell about that bottle of wine.
Yeah, I do not recall now.
You are well. Ryan said he called you and it said it was cool. So
Yes, I'm messing with you. Yes. I honestly didn't even know I had that bottle of wine. We had a grand opening like 2 weeks before, and we had a lot of guests, and they brought me a lot of wine, and I don't even drink wine. I'm more of a beer kind of person. So that bottle of wine was there. So after I saw the show and it was like 125, I was like, maybe I will have liked that wine, but I guess I'll never know now.
you
Yes.
you would have liked it, but then you found out where that bottle came from. Yeah, like exactly where it came from.
Yes, it's very funny because I have another clients that were building two houses for them. Another original design, not the A-frame, it's different. And they were actually my first clients ever. And they saw the episode and they were like, "That bottle of wine, we brought it for you on the grand opening." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So yeah, it became a longer story. Yes.
Well, tell them we all said thank you because it was delicious. I know Ryan agrees. Yeah, Rhino? Oh, Ryan's just off in his own. Ryan's on vacation. It's fine. He can just be there. He doesn't know he's muted. It's cool. Annabelle, I do have a question for you
Okay.
from Lindsay, the tiny home lady. She
No,
just
I'm here. It's just the delay is weird. Did you ask me something?
I did, but it's okay. You just interrupted my question to Annabella. So
Okay.
Annabella, the question is,
Yes.
what was the design concept behind this house? Just A-frame meets regular tiny home?
Yeah, so when I designed this house, I really wanted to create an A-frame, but all the A-frames that I saw, like the A was basically at the end of the trailer. So because the trailer cannot be very wide, it was like very weird shape. So I was like, what if I turn it on this direction so I can have a perfect, basically almost a perfect triangle and the rest, I just wanted to maximize, the square footage that we're able to. So I added the other part, which some people think that it's like a container attached, which obviously it is not. But I also wanted to be able to have the rooftop. Like I just wanted to have it all in one house. And I wanted to have the rooftop, I wanted to have the A-frame, and I don't know, I was just inspired, and that's how it came. And I love it. Yes.
Zach, I want you to comment on that because oftentimes, one of the things I love to say about tiny houses is that you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything. And yet Annabella just was like, nope, I want everything. I mean, I wonder
Yes.
like what you've seen a lot of tiny houses, Zach. What was your thoughts on that design and just that idea in general?
So my thoughts about the A-frame design is that, it was clever because you can imagine if an A-frame was turned the other direction and it was going down the length of the house, you would basically be losing a unbelievable amount of kind of functional like space within your structure of your floor plan. And so by turning the A-frame sideways and then having part of the home kind of join with the side of the A-frame in a way where, the lower part of the A-frame wasn't actually relevant to the interior space. In my mind, it was like a way where you gain all of the like really luxurious elements of an A-frame, but you don't, you minimize the kind of sacrifices in terms of how that shape kind of limits the square footage that you have, because you really just have one side of the space has this angle where you kind of have to deal in a creative way with how you're going to utilize it, but the rest of the space is uninhibited from the design of the A-frame. So in my mind, it was like, uh, and that's actually why I think I commented that it was such an original design, is because it's it's kind of, yeah, it's definitely thinking out of the box. It's almost like trying to force an A-frame into a shape that doesn't really want it, and then figuring out how you're going to pull it off, which is for the most part kind of like how I like to operate with design, is like finding big challenges and then like developing a solution for it. So I don't know
Nice.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, for sure. We have a nice comment here for Ryan and Sam. Basically says all elements of the segment, this is from Christy, thank you Christy, were top notch, very well assembled. Each element enhanced the whole. Background music, edits, incorporating some live spots. Loved all A-frame Francesca elements too. Now Ryan, here's the question. The question is there going to be a really bad delay if you try to talk to us? Because I am curious from an editing standpoint, when you get something that's got all of these different pieces to it, how you go about sort of organizing it. And I'm already hearing feedback, so this is going to be a challenge. But this is live from Myrtle Beach, so we'll see if we can do it. So,
Okay.
so the
Yeah.
question is, yeah, there you go. That's good. So the question is essentially just when you have all of this and you have to like try to put it together, what do you start with? Do you start with the vibe? Do you start with music? Do you start with like laying it out? I know Sam does a lot of the layout for you so you can get in and do like the fine tuning. Because Sam's not just our DP, he also helps with the edit. But in terms of you putting this all together, what's the stage? What's the process?
Yeah. I'm going to try to tell you the delay is crazy here, but thanks for asking. Um, wow. Yeah, I have all the footage, like all 25 hours of footage, and I like to start with music. So once I hear a piece of music, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see how this scene's going to play out. I can see, how it feels. And I just want to give a shout to Brad, who did the piano for this beautiful piano track that had just come out on Spotify right when we were shooting. And I listened to it and I called him. I was like, hey man, can we use this for the episode? And he recorded like 6 or 8 variations of it. And I would just put those down and I would see, okay, this part's for Annabella's story with Francesco, or this part's for the reveal. And so it's kind of like you're not really starting with a blank canvas if you put the music down first. So I'd have the music first, I'd hear it, I'd visualize it, I'd start to piece it together, and then like I get to be the first person to see the episode, which is really exciting. Like everything people go through seeing the episode, like I cried like for 2 days when I was editing that part with the record player because I was like, this is so good with the music. So yeah, it mostly stems from the music and also from Sammy setting me up for success by putting everything in pretty much in the order that we filmed it, everything ready to go. Because there's a lot of like microphones and a lot of things going on that he has to deal with. So, yep, that's pretty much it. And plus, also with John, with you, if everybody probably doesn't know the process, John and I kind of go through the story beats and make an outline of the whole thing before we go shoot. And we do a big interview with, like, we did a big interview with Annabella, a phone interview before we even started shooting, just to figure out kind of what makes her tick and like what makes the whole design tick. And then we just refine it on set the whole time. So yeah, it's a really, really awesome process that is like all of us making a sculpture together.
Can you tell us how you know Brad?
Oh yeah. So Brad, the pianist who did the score, he's a friend from Massachusetts, and our offices, our lofts, our studios are in the same building, and that's where I met him. And then when I left my studio, I said, Brad, you should take over this studio. It's amazing. And so he wheeled a huge grand piano into this space, and you can see it in the credits. And yeah, he's got the space now, and he releases original music and teaches piano, has a piano school. Yeah, so just
It was
family
really
friend,
cool.
pretty much.
And really cool that he re-recorded, like you said, that track, did it like slower or faster or whatever for us. It was like, yeah, it was like we had an original piano score, which was really, really special.
And
We
I'll
did. So
jump in here and
yeah.
just mention something that, when I look at the new episodes of Tiny House Revival, one of the things that stands out is that there's like almost like a courage within the music selection that you would never be almost like allowed in the kind of network environment, right? And so like the just that in itself and it is gives our episodes a depth that we never had before.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
definitely got pretty retro. There was some pretty good retro vibes that you pulled out, Ryan, that I wasn't anticipating.
I love the jazziness of this
Yeah.
episode. I love it felt the upbeat jazziness was amazing.
well,
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with. I just want to stay with Zach's building because I did make a conscious decision to give long, extended build scenes this time with no dialogue, just Zach doing the whole process, and Sam, painstakingly shot these whole extended scenes. And then I found this '80s synth music that just was so good with it, and that's where that came from.
it did feel like Miami Vice a little bit. I was just like, oh, I should have had like my teal blue or teal green like t-shirt and my white jacket.
Yep,
Um,
those are actually the reference for those is like movies from the '80s when people like build their own hot rod or like that kind of thing. Like he's in there building all these things to this music in his shop. So yeah. Anyways, I love that stuff. Glad you guys liked it.
Well,
Also,
what
can we just give a shout out to Ryan's necklace there? He doesn't always look this styly, but he's clearly on vacation.
I also actually, Sam, I want to get to you. There's a bunch of really nice comments, but Sam, I want to get to you too because, um, for those of you watching out there, obviously there's just four of us, right? It's me, Zach, Sam, Ryan. So we all touch all parts of it, but certainly the part that Sam and Ryan work the hardest on is this look and this feel, and sort of deciding, okay, what are we going to shoot with the red camera that's like very cinematic, super super like crisp? What are we going to shoot on a little like mini Super 8? What's going to be on a phone? What's going to be on the camera? Like, we have a lot of different tools, and sometimes it's just which tool we have in our pocket or ready to go at the moment. But in terms of putting together like a look and feel, I would say, like Zach said, the courage to have this different type of music. There's a courage that we have in this where we're like, just get it, or I don't know. How would you describe it? The look of it. I'm curious, Sammy, from
Well,
your standpoint.
yeah, I can definitely speak to that, and it's been fun to work with Ryan because there's like a standard nowadays in cinematography and being a DP. That's what it's called when you do my job, like director of photography, and it's generally getting all the specs and the quality and the resolution as high as possible all the time and making sure all the cameras match. You got the same lenses or this ideally the same cameras with the same set of lenses so it can match. But we didn't have that option. We were first shooting with my camera, which is like a super high-end cinema camera that does epic slow motion and all that. And then Ryan had a DSLR that was like pretty good and he loves the look of it. But then we're throwing in GoPros and sometimes we get a shot on our iPhone. And what's cool is that, similar to being out of the network where we don't have to meet these certain standards, we can be more artistic with it and actually use the different qualities. And texture is a really nice word with film too, where you're like, how does this feel like? And then we got the Super 8 camera recently that just adds a whole nother layer, which, maybe it's just us who grew up in the 90s actually love that stuff and kids don't get it. But it's been really, it's taken a lot of stress off to be able to use all these different cameras whenever we want, and then figure out, like John said, like when's the time to use the Super 8 or the GoPro, or can I use my really nice camera a little bit less and focus on just those nice slow-mo shots and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
we
really freeing. Yeah.
we went for, you guys probably remember the vinyl scene where like Annabella puts the record on the record player. Like we said, this has to be full blown cinema, like in a movie theater all the way. So we did everything, carefully, used Sam's equipment, lit it, choreographed it, the whole thing. And so that really makes that moment feel hyper real. But then I just want to introduce everybody to our new favorite camera, which is this Super 8 camera.
So I was
And
just
we
going to
use
say, because Carrie just made a comment about loving the combination of the visual textures. And I think
Mm.
what she's referring to probably is the inclusion of that camera that you're holding up right there.
It's true. I mean, this thing is so different from everything else. And to be able to cut to it, it really opens up the world that we're trying to create. So glad you guys liked it. We're going to be using it a lot. I actually have my studio set up here, even while I'm on vacation, working on the next episode already.
Nice.
And we used a bunch of it on that, and it is going to be fun. A fun one.
And we got to give Annabella a little bit of love here too, because she went out and purchased a drone that week because we're like, God, it'd be really good if we had a drone. And she's like, I'll have one here tomorrow. So that's how we were able to get like some of those. Well, you saw the drone shots of the tiny house, but also of the '67. Oh, my favorite car, that Bronco, is so cool. And I would ask you to tell the story about it, but you did. We had that whole story in the episode, and it's. I just want to
Leo, you
know.
want to come say hi to everybody?
I just want to know. Does the Bronco miss me? Is she okay without me there?
Yes, she does misses you.
Okay. God.
Hoping you're back here
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
soon.
me too. Gosh,
Yes.
such a great Fun car. I love that. Um, all right, let's see here. We've got. If there are there any more questions? We've gotten a lot. We're talking about
I have a question.
the show.
I have
Sure.
a question. Okay, because I think been reading the comments. I think everybody would love to know what everybody's hardest part of this episode was in like a
Oh,
quick little thing. Like, what was the hardest part if you had to choose one?
This part.
oh, that's a great question. If someone's got an answer, start. I gotta think.
I'll make Sam go first.
Yeah, Sam.
I was gonna say working with my brother. It's always the hardest part.
I was gonna say working with your brother. Shoot. No.
No, this one was like it's actually hard to think of the negative of any of it because Annabella's place was so well equipped for us. We had rooms right there in the shop that we could sleep in and the computer set up like we shared in the video. But
I mean, we
I
always
guess I could
wine
say
bottle.
the heat of Texas maybe. I'm never prepared for that, but it wasn't even that bad. I
Yeah.
got
It wasn't
nothing.
that
The
hot.
hardest part,
Yeah.
the hardest part was saying goodbye to Annabella and Francesco at the end.
Yeah. In
Aw,
fact,
thank you
there's a
guys.
funny story there, Annabella. You like
No,
disappeared before we could hug you, and we think it's because you were afraid of actually saying goodbye and you didn't want to accept it.
No, not at all. No, it was such an amazing experience. I don't think there was anything hard about it. You so and they will solve a problem. We had someone who
Mm.
was it was
Uh,
I mean, it was recording what, like 6 days. So by the time I saw the show, I had no clue what was going to be included. So it was so much recording, but nothing really was like practiced, or there were not a lot of like second shots or anything. Everything was just like daily life. Ryan, like, I'm so impressed, like, with you guys. The talent is incredible.
well, it's very nice of you to say.
How about you,
I'll
John?
I'll tell you, the hardest part for me is the building. Like,
yeah,
truthfully,
sure.
because I do think in terms of the show, we can we can come up with 55 minutes of compelling video in 6 days. That's not the hard part. The hard part is getting the projects done, and that's always been the hard part. But only on this show have I been involved in that. It used to be just Zach. At the end of the day, it was like 6 o'clock, 7. It's getting dark. I'm like, I gotta go get that massage back at the hotel. All right, Zach, go get him. And then he would stay all night and work. And now there's no crew to help Zach, so it's me working a lot. And the part that is the hardest is that I don't really know what I'm doing, and that's the part that is like legitimately is hard for me because I want to be helpful, and a lot of times I feel like I'm just like following Zach around and like sweeping or whatever. On this one, I was able to do all those plugs, so I felt, and I was able to stain, put that oil on there. But that's the hardest part, the late
So,
nights.
so this is a great segue into my hardest part, especially of this episode. Because, and I will preface this with just saying that yes, like part of our entire kind of concept with doing this show is figuring out how four of us can take on the roles of what used to be accomplished by like, 13, 14 people in the field, and then, a whole another conglomerate back in the post-production world. And so a big piece of my concept on like how we can be efficient in producing this show is for me to have a much better idea about what it is that I'm going to build before I show up. And that means that I have like more conversations with the homeowners than I ever had the ability to do on Tiny House Nation, which is something that I was always fighting for on Tiny House Nation, was the ability to have conversations ahead of time so that I would have enough time to kind of like go back and forth on some ideas and then show up with a little better idea. And then, because it's not just a better idea, like once you know what you're going to do, then you can start sourcing hardware to
Oops,
accomplish it. Like there
sorry.
actually is physical requirements. Um, And anyways, like in this episode in particular, we were sabotaged on that effort because they really couldn't make up their mind in terms of like things that they wanted to include in the house. Or like, I'm not going to say that they couldn't make up their mind. I'm going to put it this way. Pete was like very open to anything. And Charisse wasn't part of the conversation when I first talked to Pete. And so I kind of like had this idea of like, there is something missing here, which is like a firm opinion about how it should be. And like getting Charisse into the conversation was like how we were able to have some like have some clear direction. So that's a long-winded way of saying
Mm-hmm.
I just need people to be able to make up their mind.
How about you, Ryan?
Ask for something. Was that?
What,
Oh,
what was your hardest part?
oh. Well, hey, instead I'm going to answer a question from Foxy Tiny Homes about how the episodes have been changing. You know, he says it's been fun to watch the episodes change and what has changed. And are we finding our meter? Are we finding our rhythm here? And the really good question. Like, I mean, in the beginning, I just was paranoid to keep people watching. So I was doing a lot of like 1 day till reveal, 30 seconds till reveal. Like I was using the clock really hard in the editing room just to like make sure we didn't lose audience members because I kind of knew like we were new on the scene and stuff. And it worked. Like our early episodes did well and stuff. And then we said like let's be a little more loose about that and let's just kind of like let the characters story tell us, let the characters talk. And then we focused really a lot on character. And then, right after that, it was like, okay, we need to see more build. And that was kind of what the evolution was in this episode. Like, okay, we've kind of like let go of the clock. We've focused on character development. Now we need to not forget that this is a build show and go, lean super hard into showing the build process. So, that's kind of where we're at right now. And I mean, going back and using the clock is tempting because those episodes really get a lot of views. But they also get a lot of comments where people are like, why don't you just get rid of that time pressure? Because it's not real. Time pressure is real. Is it necessary? I'm not sure, but it's a great question, and yeah, I think we should talk about like like how are we feeling about this as like kind of a format, and do we want to keep going in this direction or add something, or I actually want to add a little more VO from John. Thinking about some more
Well,
more John VOs next time.
I'll just comment on, one of the things that was definitely, I think pretty apparent in this one is that there was some segments that were like pretty long on the construction process, right?
Yeah.
You let it go in the edit where you were like covering, um, what I was doing in a way that we haven't done a whole lot of, and definitely wasn't done in Tiny House Nation, and was always one of these very, um, like one of the biggest comments that anybody made was like, oh, I want to see more of that, like of the construction process there. Part of that is back to the conversation that you were having earlier about like, the coverage and enabling ourselves to use some other kind of camera systems to kind of create like an easier range of coverage. Um, but that was something that to me stood out. I'll just say that
Yeah.
is that there was a moment there that was like, wow, I haven't seen something that just kind of let it breathe like this and let the audience just kind of witness the process quite like that. So
Yeah,
maybe
that
you
was
can talk to
definitely
that.
super on purpose. That was because I just have been watching like with the stats, and when people once they're plugged into the builds, they watch the whole episode. And actually, my mom, who's right in our demographic, she matches our main demographic, was she just wants to see more of it. In fact, what she really wanted to see was longer reveals. Like she wants to see the whole reveal, the whole thing. And so yeah, on purpose this time I said, let's see how this episode does if we really lean in and show the full builds and the full reveal, and then parallel back and forth to Annabella's incredible story and her designs and her home, and then kind of like just try to keep the interest going like that through us. So definitely on purpose. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how it does.
Did you guys see our friend Kaylee just said hello? She said she loved the episode. Kaylee from episode 2, Kaylee Cat. Kaylee,
Haley.
thanks for jumping in. Also, Marta Sanchez. She says, just fangirling over here. I absolutely love tonight's episode. Tiny House Revival keeps fueling my dream of retiring someday to my own tiny home here in Michigan. All of you are amazing. Well, thank you, Marta. Let's see who else we have.
Well, that is definitely something that I love to talk about, which is kind of in my mind the hidden agenda behind Tiny House Revival,
Yeah.
which is the hidden and not so hidden in my case, because I don't really try to hide it all that much, that I'm like pretty proactive about advocating for tiny homes, is that I think that this episode was really like, it was unique in that I've thought about it for myself, but I've never ran into somebody else who had a plan to have two tiny houses in different places, right? Their retirement was not about like, oh, okay, we're going to live here. It was like, hey, let's, pare down and then have two small houses, rent out the house when we're not there. And then we can kind of seasonally go back and forth. And because we both are from two different worlds, we can, share our life in parts between the two places. And to me, that is super cool, because part of what we're doing with Tiny Home Nation or Tiny House Revival
Oh,
and Tiny House Nation,
no.
but
Mhm.
but well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in my mind. It's the same. It's a continuation of the whole project.
It is.
Is laying out for people to bear witness to people coming up with ideas about how they're going to sustain themselves for retirement or make their lives work, and then like how tiny homes becomes a tool for that process, and just really exposing the audience to the thought process behind it all. Almost, not saying everybody's going to cue in on that, but it might be very inspiring for somebody. And I go back to kind of the hidden agenda behind, in my mind, what we're doing. It's not a hidden agenda. We're trying to promote this entire movement because we believe that more housing options are a positive thing for people, especially now. Um, but just showcasing the way that people are doing it, I think, is very powerful. And I don't think that's not a question, but I do think that, when I want to talk to the audience, that's part of what it is that I want to say. Is that
Mhm.
um, it's not an accident that you're witnessing somebody who is kind of maybe in a relatable way looking at their future and kind of putting pieces together, stepping stones in front of them to kind of getting into a place that they're actually dreaming of. So I to me that's like a really important piece of what we're doing with the show.
Nice. I want to jump in here real quick because Christy had a comment in here just saying about, asking if this show is hitting our sweet spot and so on and so forth. And that's a longer conversation, but she said, could you include info about Annabella in the YouTube summary notes? And what I would say is we do have a link to manufactured.com, which is her company, the company that built this. That's probably the best way rather than us writing a whole bio. You can go there. I'm sure Annabella they've got their story on there. Some great pictures of tiny houses and stuff, and I'm sure there's contact info. So if you really wanted to know about her, you could send her an email from the website and chit chat with her there. Does that sound fair, Annabella?
Yeah, but we have a new website, so you might not see a lot of real pictures there. You can see a lot of our models, but please check our Instagram because we upload a lot of videos and all the new models we're working on right now, which I have a very, very amazing original design coming up as well that I hope you guys can come and record. It's amazing. It has so much glass that this A-frame with all the glass, it's like very little compared to this upcoming one. So yes.
Guys, sorry. Did you see what came on the screen when Annabella was talking?
Yes.
Our
What
boy
you
Foxy
received?
Tiny Homes. Yeah, he
Oh,
sent one Tiny House Revival membership gift. So thank you, Matthew. I didn't even know that was possible.
First member.
My son said, "Hey, make sure you do that just in case." I was like, "I don't even know what it is," but thank you, Matt. You figured it all
Yeah.
out. I actually got to little backstory. So Matt came out to San Diego to Pacific Beach for like July 4th. He knows I live down here in San Diego. He sent me a text. He's
You
like,
got
"Hey,
to meet him?
well, I mean, I met him before. We've hung out before, but never on my hometown." And so he's like, "Hey, let's grab some food." So I went out to, I went and had breakfast. He and his lovely wife had already eaten, but we had a really great time. So, Matthew, thanks for being here. And I don't know why I'm calling you Matthew, Matt. Anyway, it was great. So I got to meet him and we got to hang out and we spent a couple hours together, had some food and a walk around PB. It was awesome. That's
Dude,
apropos to nothing.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about what people want to hear about. Annabella, tell us about your new design. You got cut off.
Oh no, no,
You
I
said it
mean,
has windows. Tell us. We
yeah,
want to know. This is juicy insider scoop stuff. So,
yeah, it has been announced now on my Instagram. But yeah, so someone is asking what is my website. Let me
Okay, so
just look
I
it up.
actually got a sneak peek
oh,
because I was talking to Annabelle today to invite her to this call, and she said, "Hey, check this out." So she sent me this little thing, and I was like, "Ooh, I didn't say anything, I didn't share it with anyone, but I'm glad the cat's out of the bag."
Yeah, yeah, you can show it if you want.
Well,
Can you?
it's on my phone. It would look terrible, so
Yeah, I
okay.
would
Don't
probably.
do that. Don't
I'm
do
not
that.
going.
Yes.
We'll just build some anticipation, and then we'll let you hit us with the juicy stuff later.
But what's the general gist of this new design in terms of like when if you're talking about, you don't have to like describe it perfectly, but like yeah, what's the inspiration, what's the idea, what's the thought, why are you excited about it?
Well, I feel like the houses that I want to build are houses to be meant, they're meant to be like immersed in nature, which is why they have so many windows. Like I get hate all the time because the greenhouse that appears on the show, it has a big window in the shower. And you cannot see inside from the exterior, but people are like, "Oh, a window in the shower is weird." But I'm like, so you rather watch like a wall in front of you while you're showering versus watching nature. But okay. So we get that all, often. But this house, it's also meant to be like in the middle of nature, and I'm a huge fan of like Frank Lloyd Wright. So I kind of wanted to create a house uh, with a little bit of his style. The clean lines, a lot of like glass, just very beautiful. And I wanted to be able to take advantage of the real height that we are able to use in a tiny house. So it has very tall ceilings. It has like 10.5 feet of ceilings, and then it has 350 square feet of glass. Like, and this is commercial 1 inch glass. So it's massive. It's very impressive. I think our structural engineer is not very happy with me right
I was
now
gonna say
because
that sounds heavy.
I don't know, it is. And we build our homes, all our homes are built with steel. We don't use wood. We use only steel. But in certain models, we have to also incorporate like red iron. So not just light gauge steel, but also red iron. So I'm pretty sure that house is going to be heavy on that. Um, so we will see how it goes, but I think it's going to be the best house that I have ever built. So
Well, that's saying a lot. By the way, this does remind me that the Francesca, the house that we referenced and we got to see, we have a full, very detailed tour of that house actually
Right.
coming up tomorrow. So
the green
it'll
one or the gray one?
the green one,
Oh, the green one, the
the
one that was not
original,
on the show.
the award
Yes,
winner. I mean, we
yes.
saw a little bit of it, but this one, and what award did it win, Annabella?
So there is this event, there is this international event called EarthX, which is all about sustainability and just, things like that. And they actually started this like call for like design of tiny homes. And I just submitted my plans, my drawings, and that was back in, I think, December or something like that. Yeah. And we were told that we won, I think, beginning of February, and we had to present the house on April 11. So we had to build the whole house in 2 months. So we worked 7 days a week. Like, my husband was definitely not liking me very much, hold that free labor. And also at the same time, I was not in a good mood. It was a lot of stress. But yeah, it was a build and design um, award for the Casa Francesca, the green one. And we had to present it at the Hilton. It was there for like a week, and people were able to tour it, and it was very fun, but very
And
stressful.
yes, and we're gonna get to see, you all are gonna get to see the entire um, tour of the tiny house and hear a little bit of that story. That will debut tomorrow, I think, at around 11, maybe noon Pacific. But it's good weekend viewing. So you can rewatch this episode, the premiere episode. And if, by the way, if you're joining us and didn't watch the premiere because you couldn't, see it at 4 p.m., make sure you check out both episodes. They really complement each other. The tour is about 10 minutes, and it gets really, I go through it. We see Annabella in it. We get to meet Francesco. Uh, and so, yeah, it's really cool. So if you're curious at all about that house, it's a really, really good one. And
It's another thing that people have been asking us more for, right? Is like, let's get into the bones of the tiny house. Let's get into the details about kind of like what the utilities are, everything else. Oh my goodness. Guess what?
oh
We
yeah,
have a special celebrity guest appearance, Mr. Leo.
what's up, Leo?
He can't hear you because actually all of the
I
audio is in my ear.
I know, but
I don't,
he can feel that Uncle John said
Leo, they're
hello.
saying hi. Say hi. You have anything to say? Okay, what else do you want to say?
I can switch. I can move out of here.
All right. Well, okay. I wish I had a better way to go. We'll make him bounce up and, and down, and then we'll say, okay. Hi, John.
Oh, hi.
So yeah. Uh, anyways, the I got a little distracted on what I was
I was just
talking
leaving because
about,
you guys were
but
trying to take this room.
you guys can understand why.
Okay.
That's
Well,
Uncle Sam, right?
well the okay. So, by the way,
Okay.
I love that we're speaking Spanish
Bye, guys.
in the chat. Gracias por ayudarme. De nada. It's good. That's one of the three languages that Annabella has mastery over. I know my way around a taco shop, so. Oh, I think we could hear Alex in the background. That's all right. I just muted them both. Um, One of the questions here, and this would be a good one actually for you, Zach, if you're here. It was kind of we were. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to unmute you.
I'm back. I'm
Okay,
back.
good.
Sorry. This is the life of a dad of a 2-year-old.
Yep. I get it. The question is the tiny house movement in Michigan? Question mark from Jim D. I would say yeah.
The 100%, 100%. Tiny house movement is alive and well all over this country because the same factors that had led to the original kind of growth of the tiny house movement, which I think a lot of people credit 2008 and kind of housing crisis and all of that, like affordability, um, are actually more severe and more extreme now than they've ever been before. So the relevance of tiny homes is greater than it's ever been, and the movement is larger because of that. Um, and so 100%. Whether or not Michigan has been moving forward with kind of opening up zoning laws, I would say I have not heard of a whole lot of successes in that, part of our country. So Maine had a huge success. They passed a statewide law that allows for tiny homes on wheels. Um, there's people that are kind of like regionally getting some headway in Michigan, but nothing on a statewide level. And then in terms of the surrounding states, it's kind of in my mind, like maybe one of the areas of our country that is like lagging behind. But it's also one of the areas that, Michigan is a little bit an outlier. Michigan is one of a good example of an area that kind of escaped the housing crisis for a long time. It wasn't, affordability in terms of housing and rents wasn't such a deal in like really since COVID. A lot of these places like Michigan have gotten really hammered in terms of cost of living. And so all of a sudden places in the core of our country that weren't experiencing a housing crisis anywhere close to the same as like on the coast are now in the same position. And so, yeah, it's obviously having grown the interest in tiny homes simply because people aren't stupid. That's the thing, is like you put people in a situation where they're looking for options and they're looking for ways where they can make their life work. And like tiny homes start looking pretty appealing to a lot of people.
We got a question here, and Sammy, maybe you could answer this one.
Mm.
Christy says, "Are you guys going to submit a video like this one to the Webbies and any other award competitions?" I don't even know. Are the Webbies a thing?
Yeah,
That's
that's a good question.
that's great. We should definitely do that.
The thing is, like, Sam and I are pretty versed in film festival circuit with like other films, and it's such a hard question for me because I'm like, damn, these episodes are so good. They would crush at film festivals, but it's like a lot of hassle to get to deal with film festivals when you get in, and then you get there. This is the crazy part. You get there, you get to the festival, and like you might have three screenings with like 100 people in the screenings if it's a bigger festival.
Mhm.
Like 300 people saw it and they go, yeah, good for you. And you like go and fly out there and it's this whole thing and you do Q&As like this. But then meanwhile on YouTube, it's reaching like 100,000 people. So I don't know what to do about this because I struggled so hard to get into film festivals for so long, and now we have these pieces that would do great in festivals, but the festivals they barely show it to anybody compared to what we're just doing right here on YouTube. So I don't even know what to say about this. We
Well,
should probably
What I will
put it out there.
say, is that I believe moving forward, we have this massive shift that's happening in media where cable television is kind of losing all of this ground to streaming services. And then streaming services and like, you know, companies that weren't even in that game, like Instagram and whatever, are trying to now capture audience in longer format, you know, and YouTube is, you know, the OG, right? And that's what I love about it. It's like it's been here since the get-go, and it was always a platform for people to just kind of say, hey, you know, gatekeepers, no, never mind. Like YouTube, right? No gatekeepers
Yeah.
whatsoever. You just produce what it is you want. If it's quality and people want to watch it, then like you're gonna get some views. But I'm waiting for a film festival to be honoring more kind of television format styled programming that's being done independently and being done in YouTube, right? Where it's not just kind of when you think about YouTube content, you don't think about like a show like ours. But I think increasingly there's going to be a transition where people are going to be putting, real effort and invest and actually producing, content that is like of a level that you're not expecting on YouTube. And that's, I think, where the film festival that I'm looking for is going to be focusing.
I've got an
They
idea,
start.
guys. I've
Go
got
ahead.
an idea.
Okay.
Just to do a little brag here. Why don't we pick ourselves up one of these? All we got to
Oh,
do
John's Emmy.
all we got to do is get the project on air, give it to someone, and then it's eligible, and then we can submit it, and then we can all have one of these little things and just wear them as like a
See,
necklace.
and we already got
I
that
love
one.
that you
So
just did that
Yeah.
because not not only do people know that John once won an Emmy, regional,
Don't say
Regional.
that.
uh,
It's a
Don't
regional
say
Emmy.
that.
but
Just let it be
it
an Emmy.
also, you know what? But I'm already envisioning a screen grab as our thumbnail where he's holding up the enemy. You know, that could be something.
I can't
But
believe you dropped regional on me.
yeah, dude, don't say that it's regional.
I
But
think we
I
should.
interrupted Sam. I want to hear Sam's thoughts on
Oh
this
yeah,
one.
sorry,
Well,
sorry.
I was gonna say, I think we should milk that regional Emmy on all of our thumbnails. Just milk it like a
I have a
dying
sixth
cow.
place. I have a sixth place serving trophy too that we can put in there if we want. It's so
Yeah.
just.
I think the Webby's award would be more of like a hunchback guy at a computer instead of that beautiful arching
Yeah,
female
yeah,
figure that you have.
Seriously,
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
exactly. You win a Webby, it's just this.
Yeah.
Yes, that's funny.
No, it sounds like the Webby's is something like Zach's talking about, maybe. And
Mhm.
it is hard work to submit to film festivals. I concur with everything Ryan said, but I also will volunteer to take on the effort of submitting our episodes
Yeah.
because that would be sweet to have some feathers. You know,
Yeah,
everyone loves the feathers,
yeah, dude,
and
you
no
can
one even
Well,
knows. Yeah.
you get a couple of those Emmys, you can just mount it right on your car. It looks like a Bentley or something you're driving around.
uh, well, but it just that brings it back around because that's where we're like, oh yeah, we could get a trophy. Yes, you can meet some people in festivals that can make some things happen that you're not expecting. So there, we got to keep the door open for that. But I love the light that it shines on what we're actually doing now, which is it's so amazing to have you guys here commenting, telling us what you thought about the episode, and getting it out and seeing it in the wild, which is something you don't see when you're doing festival circuits. So I'm just grateful for this.
By the way, we just
And
got
it's also
another
something that you
subscriber.
don't see.
Sorry,
Okay,
I
sorry.
got.
It's also something you don't see when you're producing a TV show. For John and I, we would shoot these episodes, we would get done totally just like, all right, and there's so many questions in your mind about what would work, what worked and what didn't. And like, we would have no communication or anything until just an episode is produced. And then you're like, get to see it and you like it or you don't.
Yeah,
So,
and
this is it's a
And I
different
think
thing because if almost because there is a little bit more communication there's almost like I feel a bigger responsibility, right? Where before I was just like, oh, I'm gonna do the woodwork and then like whatever it is what it is. The fact that like, it's more personal this time,
mhm.
there's a greater responsibility there.
And this is all just a good answer to the original question, which is like, is it hitting the sweet spot? Are we happy with what we're doing? And it is a struggle, and we are constantly going like, okay, we got to keep growing, we got to keep the ball rolling. We're going in the right direction. We're gonna make this. We're gonna survive. It's happening. We're doing it. Yes, but on the side, yeah, it's amazing. Like we get to do this, us four, and with people like Annabella, and even though it is a struggle, I am also stopped sometimes and I say, okay, I just tell Sam sometimes like that scene where we were up in the office and we're editing, I just came up to him and was like, dude, we're so lucky we get to do this. So yeah.
yeah. Well, it's it's like anything worthwhile in life. It's exactly what Annabella said in towards the end of the episode. Like she's so blessed. How lucky is she? And she's working so freaking hard. I mean, and sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh. I mean, that is it. That's being a parent. That's anything that is like worthwhile in life is so rad
Hmm.
and so hard. And there's moments when you are, feeling like now you're like, this is great. And there's moments when you're in it and you're like, wow, this is a lot.
Yeah.
So
I
Well,
love that,
Well,
Annabella. I just want to give the mic to Annabella on that one because, right, you said it.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm finally doing this. It's all finally coming together. Like, you got to experience that. We all saw you experience that.
Yeah, no, no, no. And just today I posted something on my LinkedIn that it took us 2 years and 2 months to sell our first home. Like this shop, it was nothing. Like we started building outside, and sometimes it was really cold. Like I remember one day it was so cold, and my gloves were not doing the trick, and I was finding like plastic bags in the car just to keep my hands warm. It was like there are just so many stories, and I'm just so happy to be where we are, but it has been a lot of work every single day. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say on our last episode, the most recent one we just filmed with Mark Abma, who's a longtime professional skier. He commented at a certain point. He said, "It's so cool to be hanging out with you guys all week, and like everybody's just like working like the whole time." And that just brings me back to this idea that, when you really are passionate about something, it's like the work doesn't feel like work. So we'll wake up and we'll be working from, sometimes we sleep in at 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at night, every night. And that's just how it goes, I think, when you're passionate about something. And this is how Zach and I started making ski films together, is these long days and late night editing. And I think, yeah, it's kind of redundant to say like, oh, work doesn't feel like work, but it's fun to get back into something where that's really happening again. And, you know, I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. So,
And what I will add to all of that, and I think that love that you guys were able to articulate that before this, is that at least for me, and this is true the whole time I was filming Tiny House Nation, there was all of the compensation that people got out of kind of like getting a wage or anything else. Um, but there's also this kind of like deeper gratification from kind of feeling like you actually are investing your time and doing something that has a greater purpose. And I think it's super rare in television, or even, maybe less rare in YouTube. There's a lot of people that
YouTube.
are YouTube. Yeah. But, you know, it's pretty hard for me to ignore the idea that what we're doing is actually trying to kind of enlighten um, more and more people to the just the beauties of tiny houses and the capacity for tiny homes to work in such a wide range of ways as tools for people to kind of get their lives in a positive place, or in a more balanced place, if nothing else. And so I know people are sick of hearing me talk about it, but I think that it actually is an underpinning to everything that we do, is that not only is it fun, not only do we get to be creative, not only do we get to work with the people that we love, not only do we get to meet people like Annabella, who is so creative in her own self, but we're also doing it in the name of something that has a real potential to help out our world and help out our society moving forward to better embrace the realities of our current, of the future, and our modern lifestyles and the modern population. And so
Well, and we get to do that
it's
by telling human stories, right? And that's what I really like about it, because it's all of this stuff, and it's about, you do a lot of work, Zach, like behind the scenes, and a lot of stuff for like legislation and all the dirty stuff. But then to be a thought leader, to be quoted in the New York Times, to be the host of a show like this, to help like tell those stories, because I'm a believer that you need both of it. You need to tell these stories to motivate people.
And maybe that's actually why I love this show so much, because I do spend so much time that feels almost like banging your head against the wall, getting nowhere, right? And this show offers me a release where it feels like we're actually moving forward. We're actually getting the stories out. And 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 I should back up. Like, obviously, I think um the legal challenges to tiny homes are becoming resolved. It's getting better, but I've been at it for well over a decade. And so to me, it just feels like it's been so slow. And the process has been like so much just hammering on the door. And so for tiny house revival to be this outlet where it doesn't feel like we have any of those constraints and we can just, you know, showcase the beauties of this entire process and what this can become. Because it's not necessarily like what it is now. It's what tiny homes can become. And that's what I want to kind of showcase on Tiny House Revival, and that's why it's so cathartic for me to just do the process and get it out there and feel like we're actually taking steps and we're contributing. So
Well, listen, I think that's as good a place as any to wrap this up. We're at an hour. This is our first after show that we've ever done. I do want to say Ryan Guy 451 got in right at the end and wanted to know if we've seen things that look better. Oh, and hi, Annalisa. That's my friend. Um, he says, tiny houses or van life, which do you think you've seen people get more creative with their spaces and most use out of little spaces? That's a big, long question. So, Zach, I'm going to ask you and Annabella to give a 30-second answer because you've lived in both tiny houses and vans. Zach.
I mean, the smaller the space, the more urgent the demand for efficiency, right? And so, you know, like people designing, you know, like we just little, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but we shot an episode with Jay Schaefer, who had a tiny house that was well under 100 square feet, right? And so in that environment, you're going to be making choices that are different. And I'm not saying that I personally feel like it's actually the same. It's the same process. I don't really distinguish between a van and a tiny house all that much. But obviously, the tighter you get, the more people you're trying to put into it, you know, the harder choices you're going to have to make.
That's a good point, Annabella, right? It is the same thing because it doesn't matter if you have more space or less space if you're utilizing all of that space. What we talk about if you're trying to be efficient with all of that space, then it's kind of the same exercise, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be very creative, no matter what. And I'm a little biased when it comes to that. I don't have a lot of experience with vans, so, but when it comes to tiny houses, yes, it's a lot of creativity, and then, yeah, I mean,
It-
I don't have
I
much
will
of an
say, I
answer.
will say, okay, there is a big difference, right? When people are designing tiny homes, you're really trying to design it for permanent habitation, you know, not just kind of like your year, you know, to like go travel the world. You know, you're trying to like set it up as like a home that can work for, you know, ever if you want. And so I do think that there's a difference in mentality. You know, all I was saying in terms of like there's no difference is just it's like, yeah, the smaller the space you get, the smaller the tiny home you get, you're gonna have um harder choices. I'll put it that way. Um the more like okay, in this tiny house, when we were talking about the rooftop deck, there was almost like a reverse challenge in terms of there was so much space on the rooftop deck. There was like, it was almost like I'm so used to dealing with designing for spaces that are very small. The rooftop deck on Annabella's tiny home it was a large amount of space. And so
270 square feet.
it almost doesn't
Yep.
require the same amount of challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, guys. We got to go. This was great. Real quick, yeah, we've still got a few people in the chat. Just, I don't know if you can do a thumbs up. How about a W if you thought this was worthwhile that we should do more of these after shows because I like this idea. We can keep it going. Um, for the rest of our premieres. I think it's really fun. I think it was great to have Annabella. Thank you so much for coming in and taking the time. Um, Ryan's on vacation. Zach's got a 2-year-old almost. And so everyone's got stuff to do. I really appreciate you all doing this. Super fun. Thank you all for being here in the chat, our first YouTube live after show. So this was super fun. All right, guys. We'll see you next time, and don't forget to watch the Annabella tour of. Well, I guess it's really the Francesca. Let's call it that. That's what it is. The tour of the Francesca house comes out tomorrow. Watch this episode over and over again. Tell all your friends, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.